Are you ready to make the most of your oil and gas mineral rights? Welcome to the Mineral Rights Podcast. Get the knowledge and resources you need to manage your minerals and royalties. Here is your host, Matt Sands.
Hello and welcome to the Mineral Rights Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Sands, and I'm joined by my co-host, Justin Williams, and we're here to help you make the most of your minerals and royalties. And we have a special guest with us today, John Corkern, who's the Executive Director of the National Association of Royalty Owners, or NARO, is with us. So welcome, John.
Thank you for having me here today.
Absolutely. John and I have gotten to know each other quite well. So I'm the current president of NARO. He's, as the executive director, we're working very closely. And so I talk to John on a weekly, if not daily basis. And I appreciate all of the things that he's done to this organization. I'm super excited, all the things that are going on with NARO. You've heard us, talk about the organization on the podcast before, but today we want to do a deep dive, introduce you to John and his background and have him tell a little bit about himself, but then also dive into what NARO does and, how it serves its members. So John, before we get started into all those fun details, let's talk about how you found out about NARO and, what was that kind of initial exposure?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm a lot like a lot of other people out there. I actually received an offer to do an easement and had a few questions about it. And one of my college friends happens to be a landman and also involved with NARO. And I knew nothing about NARO at the time and just had some questions. And through some conversations with him, he actually shared with me that he was involved in NARO, gave me some advice, and was really open to help me out in that. And so that's how I first got my introduction to NARO. And I will tell you from the very beginning, I think we're one of the best kept secrets. And I'm so glad to be on the podcast today because so many people need to be a member of NARO.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it doesn't take a whole lot. You may think, well, that's just for someone that owns a bunch of different properties all around the country. You don't really need a whole lot to justify a membership to NARO. It's if you're managing your own interests and you have questions about leasing or division orders or whatever the topic is, chances are we've covered that in a publication within NARO or in a webinar, and becoming a member, you get access to all that. And we'll talk more about that here as well. But John, so you got some exposure just through your own dealing with your property and trying to figure out an offer and like, okay, what does this mean? What do I need to think about? What are the pros and cons, all those kinds of things. And so it's great that you had that resource to go. And I know a lot of people are in that same boat where they don't know a landman who's, a great friend from college that they can go, call up and get help. And so what did you learn in talking? And the friend that he's referring to is David Smith. So shout out to David as well. Great guy. And the past president of NARO as well. In your exposure to NARO, okay, you said, okay, that's great. I didn't even know this organization exists. What was your impression about, the services, what it stood for? What was that like?
Well, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about me related to that is I've always wanted to be involved. I've been in nonprofits for a long time, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But this nonprofit really moved me on the inside for what it does for people. I live in Shreveport, Louisiana. As many of you may know, that's right in the middle of the Haynesville Shale. And so I've got to see a lot of people who've been affected by mineral interest, with leases and hearing stories. And some of my background, a lot of my good friends are actually in the oil and gas space as well. And I saw how much of a difference this organization made. The people were so inviting. They want to help our members. They really want to make a difference. And I'll tell you, that's why when heard about the opportunity about becoming the executive director, it so compelled me to apply for this position.
Yeah, and that whole experience was amazing. Learning about you, your background. I think you were a perfect fit for us, and so we're so happy to have you as the executive director. With the background that you have in managing nonprofits and that kind of experience, and then coupling that with personal involvement with minerals and royalties and understanding the concerns and needs of our members. So that was it's great. So tell us about your background. So you got involved with NARO, but you mentioned you don't have an oil and gas background. So where did you grow up? What was your experience like? Where did you work? All those things.
Absolutely. I grew up in Bossier City, Louisiana. Have lived here all my life. When I got out of college, the first place I actually worked at was for the Caddo Parish Commission. We have parishes here in Louisiana instead of all the counties. You also know we have a lot of strange laws concerning property as well. So that's something that's always interesting. And we talk about that in NARO as well, some of the peculiarities of different areas, and especially Louisiana. But from there, after working for the Caddo Parish Commission, doing some outreach for their parks department, I've got into the nonprofit sphere working for the Boy Scouts. I actually worked for them for 16 years. Really enjoyed it. Started out in a very rural district, with not a lot of packs or troops there. Learned how to get those guys started, and we really grew. And as we grew, so did my career. Moved up to the second most populous district within the New Orleans Council in Shreveport, Louisiana, and then to the most populous, and then I became the assistant to a scout executive. From there, wanted to do something a little bit different, and also headquartered in Shreveport, Louisiana, is the American Rose Society. That's right, roses. Though my mom liked roses, and I do have a degree in forestry, I knew how to grow trees because I went to Louisiana Tech University. That's where I met Mr. David Smith and a lot of my other friends who are now in the oil and gas space. But while working for the American Rose Society, I was their membership director. We had growth. We got to do a lot of really great things. And after about 2 years, the position became open for me to become executive director. And I will tell you, that was exciting and scary at the same time. But to do a lot of the things that we were about to do, that the board wanted us to do, we actually redid the garden. There was a garden around the headquarters of the American Rose Society. And in the American Rose Society, there's approximately 200 Rose Societies throughout the United States. They had, at the time, about 7,000 members. But the garden is one of the things that they wanted to improve. And so we went into a capital campaign, and I will tell you, the garden looks absolutely beautiful today. The gardens that we built were built on the inner workings of a clock, and they want to do that to symbolize the history of the rose in America. And so if you go to that garden today, you'll see all the modern roses that you see, such as knockout roses, a lot of the grandifloras. There's all kind of different varieties. I've learned so much about roses and didn't even grow roses from there, just like I'm learning about the mineral space as well. But we were able to finish that campaign and build all that before I left the American Rose Society. It was a wonderful experience, but wanted to move on to something else. And I will tell you, the door just opened at exactly the perfect time and brought me here to NARO. And what really brought me to NARO, like I said at the very beginning, is this affects people. This changes people's lives. The people that work to help other people, to inform them, to make these very important decisions. They don't just last for 2 years, 5 years. Some of these leases, they go back 75 years. I guarantee you there's some great grandparents out there that wish they had met a NARO member 75 years ago for that, because, in Louisiana, there's certain percentages that are paid, in the contract that are average. But I know some people that got less than that. And if they had been informed, because knowledge is power, and that's what NARO does. And so it so compelled me to join this organization and become its executive director. I couldn't think of another place that I would want to be working with such wonderful members and such wonderful volunteers. And we have a great board.
No, John, your experience I thought was really interesting. And one of the things when you came into the organization, I thought was just a wonderful tone that you carried was your humility in learning about the mineral world. And one of the things that many of the members of NARO struggle with, or the reason they come to the organization, is trying to understand the really complex information. And, from your perspective, stepping into the organization, what was it like to kind of be immersed in the complex world of mineral rights?
Well, I can tell you, it was so much to learn. I had a degree in forestry, and I knew some of the basic stuff that was out there, but I can't imagine, inheriting minerals or being responsible for, from as a family member that you're now managing these and having to know all this stuff, to make sure you're making the right decision for your family. And so when I got immersed into it, the way it's presented through our conventions, along with our webinars, it makes it something that's very palatable and understandable. And the people that we actually have do our webinars and present them, they're willing to answer questions even after the webinars are over. We'll have a question in a webinar and they'll be responded back to within the next couple of days to answer that hard question that may be on that member's mind. And so it was very eye-opening to just see how much people care, how much of a daunting task it can look like. But I will go back to what NARO does very special, and you hear this a lot, and that is they teach our members how to eat an elephant, and that's one bite at a time to be able to understand that. And so that's why you need, if you're not a member of NARO, of why you need to join. There's so many things that you can learn from NARO. Even if you're a seasoned member or seasoned mineral owner, we always have new things happening, in the mineral space that you need to keep abreast of and learn about. And we have the best speakers, the best members, and the best conventions and town halls where you can talk with one another and learn about these things.
You said it, John, and I've learned in this space that a mark of somebody who really has been around for a long time is to understand that though they might know a lot, they still might not know a lot. And there's always situations that come up. So to kind of balance that, John, with something fun, what are some of the things you like to do outside of work? I believe you're a big water skier. Is that correct? Or what's some of the other things?
I like to water ski and wakeboard. Now, I will tell you, I still have never done a flip. I can't do it being 6'2" and a little goofy. My wife, though, will tell me she'd never seen a water skiing someone who is kind of goofy be able to be so elegant behind a boat. I'm not so sure. The other things I like doing is mountain biking. She also knows my skills there. And I will tell you, I look like the Michelin Man when I do downhill mountain biking when we go to New Mexico or Colorado. But most importantly, what I enjoy the most is spending time with my family, my wife, Shelly, my son, Drew. They're such a blessing, and they help support me in supporting this organization. And I'm so thankful for them. And I'll tell you, that's truly my greatest hobby is my family.
That's amazing. And I, look forward to getting out on a ride with you sometime soon. I know that the stars haven't aligned with us living in different states, but hopefully sometime in the near future that'll happen. So let's talk a little bit about NARO specifically, and what is the mission of NARO. So people hear us talking about this organization, the fact that we have webinars, that we have, educational events, but what is NARO?
NARO, I'm going to read it exactly out because nothing says it better than exactly how they worded it when they were putting this together. The mission of NARO is to support, advocate, and educate for the empowerment of mineral and royalty owners. And I will tell you, that is something that the organization takes very seriously. We are constantly trying to empower our mineral owners. We do that through our conventions. I will tell you, at each and every convention, the speakers that we have, the topics that we cover, definitely empower a mineral owner. And if you want to know more about the different topics that we have, you can visit our website, www.naro-us.org. As the conventions are approaching, we have the agenda that's there. You can always reach out to us in an email if you want a little more expounding on what's going to be covered there at each and every one of those conventions. But we are constantly trying to inform our members. And that's not just on an educational part, but also advocating on the legislative part as well. What's going on in your state? In Texas right now, there's 3 bills coming up that they're working on here in April. And there making sure their members know with calls to action. So we're very busy. Also in Oklahoma, they have a town hall. And I can tell you in each and every one of your chapters, our presidents have committed to have town halls within each one of the chapters this year and the following years. And so we're a very active group, and they really embrace that mission statement to make sure that mineral and royalty owners are empowered.
No, that's amazing. And from an organizational perspective, how is NARO organized? I know there's some different branches, so to speak, that serve those different parts of the mission. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. We have the association, which is probably the most front-facing that you see if you are a member of NARO. It's a 501c6. We also have the foundation. The foundation it has been put together to actually help manage our mineral assets that we have and hold. So they oversee those. And finally, we also have a political action committee that meets regularly on a federal level for anything that may be impacting you as a mineral owner to help represent your interest.
Yeah, those are really important aspects, I think, like you mentioned earlier. And the other thing that we have within NARO that is probably not well known is there is a certification program. Do you want to talk about that mineral management program and what's involved? What does it entail? How do you become a certified mineral manager or a registered mineral manager?
Yes, you can become a certified mineral manager or a registered mineral manager. It is overseen by the foundation. We put on classes at our chapter and national conventions to help you become certified at those conventions. You also have to maintain a certain amount of hours that are approved, keep that certification, but it is something that's very informative and will help you understand how to manage your minerals quite a bit more. If you would like to know more about that, you can reach out to our registrar. Her name is Patty West. She will expound upon everything that you need to do to register into the program, and then the classes that will be available, along with classes that can be considered for your hours. But her email is registrar@naro-us.org, or feel free to call us anytime at the phone number on the website, and we'll be happy to move you over to Patty West to help you become a registered mineral manager or a certified mineral manager.
That's amazing. And you can also audit those classes that John's talking about. So even if you don't want to get certified, if you just want to learn the curriculum, learn how to calculate your own decimal interest in a well or whatever it is in terms of that hands-on, more detailed type of work, that class, that mineral management review class, is an amazing resource as well. So definitely take a look at that.
And if you don't want to get certified and you just want to know a little bit more about managing minerals, you want to take those first baby steps, we also have Introduction to Mineral Management, which we put on at the national convention as well as some of our chapter conventions. So that is a wonderful class to attend as well.
That program is really a wonderful one, and it it helps people in the industry get more credit hours. We have a lot of people who return through the program to update their credits. So it's really useful for all the different steps. And so education is really the purpose of the organization, and most of the people come to us from a certain action. Maybe they receive a lease, maybe they just inherited minerals. What are the education components of NARO? Like, we have the webinars, but there's a lot of things. I don't think folks are aware of everything that NARO offers to them to get involved, to stay updated, and to learn the fundamentals.
Absolutely. You've heard me mention our conventions. That's one of where the rubber, really meets the road, where you can get in person, network with other mineral owners, along with industry professionals. And each chapter has one of those. We have the Louisiana Convention coming May 1st and 2nd of 2025 in Bossier City, Louisiana. The Oklahoma Convention, May 20th through the 23rd of 2025. The Rocky Mountain Convention, June 12th and 13th of 2025. 2025 in Denver. North Dakota Convention, which will be in Bismarck, June 18th and 19th. The Texas NARO Convention, July 23rd through the 25th, and the Ohio Convention, September 10th through 11th. And then we will have the National Convention on September 30th through the 3rd. So we have a lot of conventions. Don't have to remember all of that. You can visit our website underneath events, and it will have all those. That's one of the ways that we're able to do education, but each one of those are just once a year. We want to be in contact with you all the time. And so from that, first and foremost, we have the Roar. It is our monthly newsletter that goes out to each and every member with articles from each one of our chapters with chapter updates, along with informative information and articles that help you manage your minerals. And you will get we'll get one every month. But I'll tell you what's even neater is we have an archive of those roars on our website all the way back to 2015. I think there's over 130 different roar archived, and hopefully with some of the things we'll talk about later, they'll even become searchable where you can even find them later and to get into that information. But we have each and every one of those archived as a PDF. The other thing we have is monthly webinars. Is something we committed to, and I can tell you as of today, we have almost 60 webinars that you can go back to be able to learn about. Some of the topics are Oil and Gas Geology 101, how to review your royalty statements, how to benefit from 1031 exchanges, lease and division order jargon explained. There's a lot of those words out there. We talked about me being new that I've had to learn and refer back to. And so these are great resources for you to go and learn all about at your own leisure, at your own speed. I just received an offer letter to purchase my minerals. I get a lot of phone calls about that, wanting to either lease or purchase, and what do I need to do? We have a webinar on that. Say you are not a member. We also have a free webinar. And this is a great one because we get tons of phone calls on this as well. How do I search for my deeds and leases? And if you want to check us out, you just want to, put your little toe in the water and see if you want to become a NARO member, I invite you to visit our website. On the very front page, all we ask for is your email address. And I believe your first name. And once you put that in, you can receive that free webinar and see what these webinars are all about. But we have all those resources. And then finally, we get a lot of phone calls about, do you have a service provider in this area or that area? We also have a wonderful resource called our Business Supporter Directory. These are people organizations and businesses that help support us that have been vetted and agreed to offer services ethically, and you can reach out to them and give them a call and find out if there's someone in your area. So it's a really neat resource that we now have for each and every member. And that's one thing that we want to make sure of. That cost that you spend as being a member, we want to make sure you get all that value. And we're going to keep on adding and giving you more and more information so that you have so much information you can't even fathom it. And that's where the direction we are going as an organization. And we already have that, but we want to give you even more knowledge.
And we talked a little bit, John, before about your own minerals and that experience. What has been some of the most valuable things to you in learning to manage your own interest, having access to the NARO organization?
Well, I can tell you, I'm one of those guys that they're always asking to sell our minerals because it's very active. And so I've learned to, see what the offer price is. Sometimes I smile related to it. Also, what is, where I live, what is a certain percentage that I need to be able to receive if I decided to lease my minerals at that point. They're under a lease right now, but a lot of times I get that question. I've learned a lot about carbon sequestration. That's something that's very on the front edge of questions that we're getting of what's going on. There's a lot of questions that are still unanswered, and I've got to learn a lot about that. It's something that's very active here in Louisiana, and so learning about how to manage your minerals along with making considerations if you would like to participate in carbon sequestration on your property has been something that's been very interesting to learn as well, and just how to review your royalty statements. That is huge. Some of the things I'm getting excited to learn about, because we get phone calls about it, is we're partnering with other organizations as well. And one of them is about working with division order analysts and what they need to be able to move forward, because I want to learn all those things so that when someone comes up to me and asks me a question, I can say, I've actually heard that, and here's the resource you need to talk to help you get through this a whole lot more expedient. So there's been a lot of things, and between me and a lot of times if you call NARO, you'll talk with Kim as well. She's also a mineral owner, and she talks about this, and we have conversations all the time about what we've learned new at each and every convention or town hall. Well, wow, I learned this. So we have a lot of conversations, and I'll tell you, every time I go to a different seminar or to a different webinar, I learn something new every single time. It's just been a great organization. It's opened up my eyes tremendously at all the things that we're able to offer a mineral owner.
Yeah, that's amazing mindset, I think, to have going into this, because it's something that is so complex and nuanced that, I'm in the same boat. I continually learn something new every day, as I'm going through this stuff. And so, having that mindset to be willing to learn, it can be empowering, because I think a lot of this stuff is within reach for most people if you're willing to put in the work to learn about how to manage your interests. And there's lots of resources out there, like John mentioned, that business supporter directory. It's not that you're expected to know how, all the ins and outs of negotiating a lease. It's to know the basics, and then have a good oil and gas attorney that you can call when you need help, or when you do your taxes, not knowing exactly how to figure out the percent depletion amount or whatever, but knowing that you need to take advantage of that, and then having your CPA that's knowledgeable about that, able to help you in filing your taxes, and all of those things, I think, it's just equipping you with the tools to empower yourself to make the most of your minerals and royalties, a lot like what we talk about on this show. So I think it's very much parallels what the work is that NARO's doing. So, speaking of those kind of good parts, you mentioned some of the challenges and things that you were faced with, but what's kind of the more challenging parts of your work with NARO?
It's just wanting us to get the word out even more about NARO. And like I said at the very beginning, I think we're one of the best kept secrets. I hope you will help us, if you're listening to this podcast, to help us not be a secret, because so many other mineral owners need to know about NARO, because this can be life-changing. Information, having knowledge can change the trajectory of a whole family in managing their minerals. And so coming up with, different ways to be able to get us out there into the lexicon of every mineral owner, that we're the organization to call so you can learn more about managing your minerals, has been one of the things that has, been a little bit challenging, but we have been growing slightly. So happy about that. And I think with some of the things that we're doing, we're about to see great things ahead of us as well. And so I'm very excited about the organization and the direction it's going in. It's an amazing organization.
I echo that. It's certainly been a challenge to get the word out. And so obviously that's one of the reasons we're talking about it today, is just to let people know about what NARO is, how it might benefit you if you're going through some of the things that we mentioned, those common tasks or challenges we're faced with around leasing, or whether or not to sell, or, understanding a division order or your royalty statement. There's so many things that at that moment in time, it's nice to have a resource that you can go to look at that information, to look up, okay, here are the steps I should be taking now. Having that, bookmarked on the NARO website or wherever it is that you found that information. I think that's super helpful. And as far as stories that you've heard from members, let's talk about the rewarding part of your role as executive director and hearing those stories from people about how NARO has helped them. But can you talk about some of those experiences that people have had through their interactions and involvement with NARO?
Absolutely. We're able to help a lot of times, someone's asking to lease their minerals, and just being able to get them in the right direction for someone to look over that proposed lease. There's a lot of language inside that lease agreement that you may or may not understand. And to hear how much of an effect it can make is huge, because you want to have, certain clauses within your contract. The other thing I've heard is, learning about auditing your mineral royalties to make sure, and I've heard about different things as far as how much of financial difference it is made to different families, because you may not be able to look at your check stubs and know, hey, am I getting paid correctly? Are these deductions the deductions that are supposed to be there? And so I've heard different families talk about that, but I tell you, what's the most rewarding about this job is, I see a lot of people that are grandparents or parents that are bringing their kids or grandkids there and teaching them. So this generational information goes from one family member to the next. Those are the most touching stories of how NARO is able to help them, because the next family member will have that knowledge to be able to protect their interests. So this goes on, for the next 100 years as well, instead of that generational wealth going away. And so that's some of the most touching. Every time I see a kid or a grandkid or a family member passing that information, getting that information from another member, it's just wonderful. And NARO allows that to happen through our webinars and our conventions. And it also gets them where they're comfortable in fellowship, with one another. And in fact, as much as there is knowledge to learn, there's friendships, and those friendships can last a lifetime. And so that's another thing that's very special about this organization. When you first come and you meet these people and learn, you're also feeling like you're around family. And so that's what I think is so special about this organization. A lot of y'all have been to different places where you've gone and you're like, I don't know if I'm just learning stuff. When you're there, you feel like you have people that really care and want your best interest. And it's just a really special organization.
Yeah, it's certainly one of those places you attend a convention, you see people reconnecting, they've met each other at NARO. They have that support network of other like-minded folks that are going through the same thing as they are. That can be super powerful. And I think that it's definitely one of the things you may not see as a direct benefit listed on the website, but it's an amazing opportunity to share best practices, to learn from others, and even connect with people that own minerals in the same area as you. That there was one of the board members that used to be on the national board that they talked about how they met somebody that they owned minerals in the same area in a particular county, that they were actually also getting a lease offer, and they were all able to work together to provide a unified front to that oil and gas company. And by, if the more that you own, the more influence you have in that negotiation if you have a larger net interest. And so they were able to negotiate a better deal by working together. So that's some of those anecdotal type examples are amazing to hear. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. So let's talk about, okay, people are somewhat interested. Okay, that all sounds good. What are the immediate benefits that someone will get today? Let's say they have a particular challenge. Like, that's great. I don't have time to wait until October for that convention. If somebody becomes a member today, what are the things they would get access to that, would be able to help them with some of those challenges?
Absolutely. First and foremost, you will receive the ROAR within the next 30 days. because that comes out monthly. You also will be able to attend a webinar that will come out monthly, and we will have professionals there that you'll be able to ask questions of and ask questions within the chat. If there's something more specific, you always have the opportunity to reach out to us directly so that we can hopefully put you in the right direction or get you with a person that can get you in the right direction to give you a little bit of advice and to help you, make some good decisions. I mean, that's what's nice about this. I'm currently trying to sell my house, and there's nothing you need more than a realtor for some of those questions you don't know. That's what NARO is for you, is a first resource to ask some of those few questions. It doesn't mean that you don't need a contractor to do something over here or a plumber to do something over there, but to ask those first questions you have of, hey, what kind of direction do I need to go on? Have you seen some of this before? And so that's what's so nice about what you can get by becoming a member even today on the first day.
Yeah, and like John mentioned earlier, we have that archive of all of the past webinars that you would get immediate access to in the members section. There's also a bunch of discounts you get, and we'll have a special discount for you actually today. At the end, we'll mention a coupon code where you can get $25 off your annual membership if you're a first-time member. So definitely stay tuned to the end. So we'll go over that and give you that coupon code that you can use. So yeah, thanks for sharing that as well.
And John, since you've come to the organization, and Matt, since you've become president of the board, there's been a lot of improvement that you guys have brought, not only revamping some of the things that already existed, but bringing new features. John, what is the vision for NARO going forward? How do you see it changing? What do you see us getting better at? And where do you see our strengths 5 years from now?
Well, I'll tell you, first and foremost, I want to make sure, just like I hope you've heard through today, is we make even more connections, that relationship. We were talking about the relationship at conventions. We want to provide more town halls in each and every one of the chapters that we serve. The different areas that we serve include the Texas chapter, the Louisiana chapter, the Oklahoma chapter, the Rocky Mountain chapter, and the area surrounding it, North Dakota, and the chapter there in Ohio. And we also serve other areas as well. We have east of the Mississippi and west of the Mississippi. So there's not a state within the United States that we don't help serve. And so we want to expand and have even more chapters where there is oil and gas development along with other energy resources where they need resources. So we want to be in every one of those states as possible. So if you are interested in forming a chapter where we don't have one, I would love for you to reach out to me, because that's what I want to make sure of, is that we grow, that more people know about us, because they can make a bad decision without getting that informed information. That's what matters the most. We want to educate and allow people that own minerals and royalties the information to be able to make the right decision in every single state within the United States. And so that's where we really want to grow. Other things that we want to do is put even more information on our website, make it easier to find. Also offer even more member benefits. We have quite a few that we mentioned today, but each and every month we want to add another member benefit so that it becomes such a resource for you as a member of NARO. And so that's where I see us going, is growing, educating, and expanding, and territorially. So I hope that's what we end up doing over the next 5 years. Those are the things that matter to us. And finally, to change people's lives, to make their lives better, to enrich them. That's what we want to do as an organization.
You said it great, John. And, much of the organization is volunteer based, and folks can get involved. Can you talk a little bit about the different roles? So being a member, you please support NARO. If you're a mineral owner, we have some great information to offer you as an organization. But what are some of the other volunteer positions? There's chapter presidents, there's board members. How can folks get involved and serve the organization if they'd like to?
I can tell you there's a place for you. That's the first thing that you need to know. We can find a place for you to be involved. It can be within your local area when we do town halls to help with it. It can also be on a state board through a chapter. You can be involved there. Or if you don't want to take on that responsibility, I'm sure they have plenty of subcommittees where you can be involved as well. We also have calls to action, which I mentioned earlier. And that's as simple as reaching out to your legislators out there just to make your voice heard. That's how you can become involved. And of course, on our national board as well, and some of our other committees, we're always looking for different talents. And I guarantee everyone out there has a talent, and we would love to get you involved.
Is there anything that you would like to mention before we kind of wrap up here? Something that we didn't bring up, or just an observation you've had? I think I'm safe to say on behalf of Matt and I that we are so glad to see you in the organization. It has been a wonderful change to have you here and to have somebody so passionate, alongside us to guide the ship.
I only have one thing. After hearing my impassioned speech throughout this in this interview, if you're not a member, what are you waiting for? Sign up today. This is such a wonderful organization. Learn more about managing your minerals and meet some new friends. This is a great organization to do all those things. And I definitely want to see you at one of our conventions or one of our webinars. Or if you just want to reach out to me, I'd love to just get a phone call from you. I love to hear from all our members.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo that. And along those lines, if you are at all interested, if anything that we've talked about today piques your interest, you can get $25 off your first time membership. So again, if you've not been a member in the past 2 years, an introductory membership, which is normally $75. So that brings it down to $50. There's really, like you said, John, no reason to not check it out, at least for that much. You'll get that value back immediately just logging in. The education could potentially save you thousands of dollars in avoiding that mistake that you could make in leaving money on the table and negotiating a lease or, managing your royalties. So absolutely check it out. Fully endorsed by us here at the Mineral Rights Podcast. And again, Justin and I are volunteers on the board as well and have made some great friends through the organization. And so it's been great being involved and working with you, John. Again, as far as where to go to find out more about NARO, where do they go to join? You want to talk about the website, where they can go, and then your email address or the way that they can get in touch with you as well?
Absolutely. You can visit our website at www.naro-us.org to be able to join, or you can also email me directly. I'll happily walk you through it if you want to reach out to me. My email address is executivedirector@naro-us.org. I would love to hear from you as well. And if you need to get to me directly, you can always call me at 318-218-0935.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, John and Justin. And I know I speak for you as well, that we're super excited for all the things coming up later this year. And I want to give a special shout out to Justin. John alluded to the fact that we're improving the website, making information easier to find. And Justin's really been helping lead that effort. So I'm really excited to unveil that later this year sometime, hopefully. And that's definitely a work in progress. We're deep into that right now and really looking forward to some of that and some of the other additional benefits we have cooking for you all. So check it out, naro-us.org. So it's naro-us.org is the website. And be sure to check it out. We'll put links in the show notes with the coupon code as well, so that you can take advantage of that special offer that we have right now. So thanks again.
And also, if you want to go directly to join, it's join-naro.org.
Thanks again, John, for your time. And it's been great talking with you today. And we'll look forward to continuing to work with you on the board and the great things to come.
Yep. You said it, Matt. Thank you, John, for everything. You've been wonderful.
Thank you.
All right. That wraps up this episode. Again, show notes can be found at mineralrightspodcast.com. Thanks again for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to the Mineral Rights Podcast with your host, Matt Sands. Don't forget to subscribe and share at mineralrightspodcast.com. The Mineral Rights Podcast should not be construed as investment, legal, or tax advice. All information is believed to be from reliable sources. However, we make no representation as to its completeness or accuracy.